I never believed in fairy tales, especially not the ones where the rigid executive falls for someone who should merely be obeying her orders. My name is Elena Ferreira, and at 35, I've built a luxury hotel empire through ruthless discipline and emotional walls thicker than the steel and glass of my Snow Paulo penthouse. Love was a distraction I couldn't afford, vulnerability, a weakness that would destroy everything I'd sacrificed so much to achieve. Then, I hired Sofia Santos as my housekeeper, and a simple handshake shattered every rule I had ever lived by. She was supposed to be a nobody. She was meant to clean my apartment, remain invisible, and collect her paycheck without disrupting the carefully orchestrated life that kept me safe from feeling anything real. But when her fingers touched mine during our first meeting, an electric current shot through me, and I knew I was in serious trouble. What started as a professional arrangement became something dangerously intimate. Every morning, she transformed my cold, sterile space into something that felt like a home. Every conversation revealed another crack in my armor. Every stolen glance made it harder to pretend I didn't desire her in ways that would destroy my reputation, my family's expectations, and everything I had worked to build. The problem with forbidden desire is that it doesn't care about consequences. It doesn't care that she works for me, that society demands we stay in our appointed roles, or that my mother would disown me if she discovered the truth. When passion refuses to be silenced, someone always gets hurt. And I was about to find out that someone would be both of us. The morning mist clung to the jasmine vines that cascaded over the old wooden fence of Kinsiraporn's traditional Thai house in Chiang Mai. Inside the peaceful courtyard, 25-year-old Nalika knelt beside the herb garden, her delicate fingers carefully tending to the holy basil plants that her grandmother had taught her to grow. The golden sunlight filtered through the banana leaves above, casting dancing shadows across her serene face. Why does my heart feel so restless today? She wondered, pressing her palm against her chest, where an inexplicable longing had taken root. As the daughter of a respected traditional medicine healer, Nalika had always found peace in the rhythm of caring for plants, in the ancient wisdom passed down through generations of women in her family. But lately, something felt incomplete, as if she were waiting for a missing piece of her soul to arrive. The sound of gentle footsteps on the wooden walkway made her look up. There, framed by the morning light like a vision from a classical painting, stood a young woman with soft, intelligent eyes and shoulder-length hair that caught the breeze. She wore a simple white blouse and flowing skirt, carrying a worn canvas bag filled with art supplies. "Swazdika," the stranger said with a respectful "Y," her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I'm sorry to disturb you. I'm come about the room for rent." Nalika's breath caught in her throat. There was something about this woman's presence that made the jasmine flowers seem to bloom brighter, made the morning air taste sweeter. She rose gracefully, brushing the soil from her hands. "Sawazdika," Nalika replied, her heart beating like the wings of a butterfly. "I'm Nalika. Yes, the room. Please, come inside. Would you like some jasmine tea?" As Ploy followed her into the traditional house with its thick floors and delicate wood carvings, Nalika couldn't help but steal glances at her guest. There was an artist's sensitivity in the way Ploy observed everything: the intricate patterns in the ceiling, the Buddha statues surrounded by lotus flowers, the way light fell across the polished floors. "This house has such beautiful energy," Ploy murmured, her eyes bright with genuine appreciation. "It feels like it holds many stories. My grandmother always said houses choose their people, not the other way around," Nalika replied softly, leading Ploy to the guest room that overlooked the garden. She built this place with her own hands, planted every flower, carved every detail with love. When Ploy turned to face her, their eyes met for a moment that seemed to stretch like the golden hour before sunset. In that instant, Nalika felt something shift inside her sister: recognition, as if she were looking at someone she had been searching for her entire life without knowing it. "I would be honored to stay here," Ploy said quietly, and Nalika knew that her peaceful world was about to change forever. 3 weeks had passed since Ploy moved into the jasmine-scented room, and the house had come alive in ways Nalika had never expected. Each morning, she would find small watercolor paintings left on the kitchen table, delicate studies of the herbs in her garden, the way sunlight fell through the leaves, the expression on Nalika's face as she worked among her plants. "You don't have to paint me," Nalika said one evening, as they sat together on the wooden porch, sharing a simple dinner of kotam and fresh vegetables from the garden. The air was thick with the perfume of night-blooming jasmine, and fireflies danced like tiny stars in the gathering darkness. "I can't help it," Ploy replied, her voice soft with honesty. "You have this way of moving through the world that makes everything beautiful. When you touch the plants, when you smile at the neighborhood children, when you help the elderly aunties at the market, it's like watching poetry come to life." Nalika felt warmth spread through her chest like honey. No one had ever seen her this way before, had ever made her feel like she was someone worth capturing in art, worth remembering in brushstrokes and gentle colors. "Tell me about your dreams," Nalika said, turning to face Ploy in the soft lamplight. "Why did you come to Chiang Mai?" Ploy was quiet for a long moment, her fingers tracing patterns on the wooden railing. "I used to paint in Bangkok, but everything felt so empty, like I was painting shadows instead of life. My heart kept calling me north, toward the mountains, and the old stories. I needed to find something real, something that would make my art mean something again." "And have you found it?" Nalika asked, though her heart already knew the answer from the way Ploy looked at her. "I think I have," Ploy whispered, and the words hung between them like incense in a temple. Sacred and full of possibility, they began spending their evenings together, walking through the narrow alleys of the old city, visiting temples where they lit incense and made silent wishes, sharing stories under the light of paper lanterns. Nalika found herself opening her heart in ways she never had before, telling Ploy about her grandmother's teachings, about the loneliness she had carried, about dreams she had never dared speak aloud. One evening, as they sat by the small pond in the courtyard watching koi fish swim in lazy circles, Ploy reached out and gently touched Nalika's hand. "Nalika," she said, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind, "I need to tell you something. The way I feel about you. It's not the way friends feel about each other." Nalika's heart soared and trembled at the same time. She had been feeling the same pull, the same sweet ache whenever Ploy smiled, the same desire to protect and cherish this beautiful soul who had wandered into her garden. "I know," Nalika whispered back, intertwining their fingers. "I feel it too." The happiness that had bloomed between them like lotus flowers in the morning sun was tested when Nalika's mother, Kinsiraporn, returned from her meditation retreat in the mountains. A woman of traditional values and strong opinions, she had always expected her daughter to follow the conventional path: marriage to a good man, children, the continuation of old customs. "Who is this girl living in our house?" Kinsiraporn asked one evening, her voice carrying the authority of generations of strong Thai women. She sat rigidly on the teak furniture that had been in their family for decades, her eyes sharp with disapproval as she watched Ploy painting in the garden. "Her name is Ploy May. She's an artist, and she helps me with the herb garden," Nalika replied, trying to keep her voice steady, even as her heart raced with fear. She had always been a dutiful daughter, had never caused her mother worry or disappointment. "I see the way you look at her, Luke Sao. This is not the way a proper Thai woman should behave. What will the neighbors think? What will the temple elders say? You are 25 years old. You should be thinking about marriage, about giving me grandchildren." Each word felt like a thorn piercing Nalika's heart. She had known this moment would come, had dreaded it even as she allowed herself to fall deeper in love with Ploy's gentle spirit and artistic soul. That night, Nalika couldn't sleep. She sat in the garden under the light of the full moon, tears falling like rain on the jasmine petals. When Ploy found her there, wrapped in a silk shawl and shivering despite the warm night air, she immediately knelt beside her. "Talk to me," Ploy whispered, gathering Nalika into her arms with infinite tenderness. "What's troubling your heart?" "My mother knows," Nalika sobbed against Ploy's shoulder. "She knows how we feel about each other, and she's ashamed. She says I'm bringing dishonor to our family, that I'm forgetting what it means to be a good Thai daughter." Ploy held her tighter, her own eyes filling with tears. "Do you want me to leave? I never meant to cause problems between you and your family. Your happiness means more to me than my own." "No," Nalika cried, pulling back to look into Ploy's eyes. "Don't you see? That would be like asking me to cut out my own heart. But I don't know how to choose between the love I have for you and the duty I owe to my family." For 3 days, a heavy silence fell over the house like monsoon clouds. Ploy moved quietly through her daily routines, painting less, speaking little, while Nalika struggled with the weight of tradition and the call of her heart. The jasmine flowers seemed to droop in sympathy, and even the koi fish in the pond moved more slowly, as if sensing the sorrow that had invaded their peaceful world. Kinsiraporn watched, It all, with the calculating eyes of a mother who had lived through many seasons of joy and sorrow, who understood the complicated dance between love and duty that every generation must navigate. The crisis came to a head during the Loy Krathong festival, when the entire neighborhood gathered by the river to float their krathongs and make wishes under the full moon. Nalika had spent days crafting a beautiful float from banana leaves and flowers, her hands moving with practiced skill, even as her heart ached with indecision. At the river, families spread their picnic mats and lit candles. Children ran between the adults with sparklers, and the air was filled with laughter and the scent of incense. But Nalika felt separated from the joy around her, as if she were watching life through a veil of sorrow. "Make a wish, Luke So," Kansiraporn said, appearing beside her daughter, with her own krathonga, simple but elegant creation, adorned with marigolds, and a single white candle. Nalika knelt by the water's edge, holding her krathong with trembling hands. "What do I wish for?" she wondered desperately. "For my mother's acceptance, for the courage to follow my heart, for Ploy's happiness, even if it means letting her go." As she prepared to set her krathong on the water, she noticed another float drifting nearby. Ploy's creation, decorated with jasmine flowers and tiny watercolor paintings wrapped in plastic. Their krathongs touched gently in the current, spinning together like dancers in the moonlight before floating away side by side. "May," Nalika said suddenly, rising to face her mother with newfound determination. "I need to tell you something, and I need you to really listen to my heart." Kansiraporn's expression was unreadable in the flickering candlelight, but she nodded slowly. "I love Ploy," Nalika said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "I love her in the same way you loved my father, in the same way the jasmine vine loves the morning sun. This love doesn't make me less Thai, less respectful, or less your daughter. It makes me more myself than I have ever been." Before her mother could respond, Ploy appeared at Nalika's side, her face pale but resolute. "Kansiraporn," Ploy said, performing a deep, respectful "why. I know you have concerns about me, about my presence in your family's life. I want you to know that I love your daughter with all the honor and respect that any relationship deserves. If you give us your blessing, I promise to cherish her, to support your family's traditions, and to be worthy of the trust you place in me." The older woman was quiet for a long moment, studying both young women with eyes that had seen decades of human joy and suffering. Finally, she spoke. "Do you know the story of the golden jasmine vine?" she asked softly. Both women shook their heads. "My grandmother told it to me when I was young. She said there was once a jasmine vine that bloomed only in the moonlight, but all the other plants bloomed in the sun. The vine felt alone and different, until one night it met another. Serious. Together, they created the most beautiful garden in all of Thailand, because they understood that beauty comes in many forms, and love blooms in its own season." Tears streamed down Nalika's face as she realized what her mother was telling them. "I may not understand everything about your love," Kansiraporn continued, "but I understand that you are both good people with kind hearts. That is what matters most." 6 months later, the jasmine garden was more beautiful than it had ever been. Ploy's artistic eye had helped them redesign the space, creating little corners for meditation, pathways that led the eye naturally from one beautiful view to another, and a small studio where she could paint while being surrounded by the plants that Nalika tended with such loving care. They had held a small ceremony in the garden, not a legal wedding but a blessing of their love, attended by Kansiraporn, a few close friends, and the elderly monk from the neighborhood temple who had known Nalika since she was a child. He had spoken about love as a form of miracles, about how caring for another soul with pure intention creates positive karma that ripples out into the world. "I never imagined I could be this happy," Nalika whispered one evening as they sat together on their favorite spot on the porch, watching the fireflies dance among the jasmine blossoms. In her lap, she held Ploy's latest painting, a portrait of the two of them in the garden, surrounded by flowers and soft golden light. "You know what I love most about this painting?" Nalika asked, tracing the brushstrokes with her finger. "Tell me," Ploy replied, curling closer to her love in the warm evening air. "The way you painted our hands. They're not just touching, they're growing together, like roots of two trees that have found each other in the earth." Ploy smiled, that radiant expression that had first captured Nalika's heart. "That's because that's how it feels. Like we've grown together so completely that I can't imagine where I end and you begin. As the moon rose over the mountains of northern Thailand, casting silver light over their small paradise, both women felt the deep contentment that comes from finding one's true home. The jasmine flowers released their perfume into the night air, the koi fish created gentle ripples in the pond. And somewhere in the distance, temple bells chimed the hour with ancient, peaceful authority. In the traditional Thai house that had chosen them just as they had chosen each other, two hearts beat in perfect rhythm, creating their own version of the eternal love story that has been told and retold under every full moon since the beginning of time. Love, like jasmine, Nalika thought as she drifted toward sleep in Ploy's arms, blooms most beautifully when it grows in the right soil, tended by patient hands and blessed by understanding hearts. The garden slept peacefully around them, and in the morning, new buds would open to greet the sun.